I swore I would never set foot in that ridiculous winter pairing festival again. Yet there I was, standing under a string of fairy lights in the town square, my name pinned to a card like some prize cow up for auction. If humiliation had a scent, it would smell exactly like mulled cider and burnt chestnuts. Everyone around me laughed, cheered, and whispered as the host announced names and potential bidders. My heart pounded with the sharp reminder. This was not a night of choice. I had been forced into this spectacle by my friends who insisted I needed to finally get out there. Out there meaning being sold off like a charity date in front of the entire town. The stage lights burned too bright, my throat dry as I tried to look indifferent. But then I saw him, Ethan Hayes, tall, composed, wrapped in a dark wool coat that seemed sculpted to his broad shoulders. The kind of man whose presence pulled focus without effort. And the kind of man I had secretly loved since high school when he barely knew I existed beyond a polite nod in the hallway. I told myself he wouldn't even be here, that someone like him successful, untouchable had better things to do than linger at a small-town winter festival. But there he was, standing in the crowd, eyes on me like the world had narrowed down to one stage, one spotlight, one boy who never thought he'd matter. Couldn't breathe. The host's voice boomed, announcing my name, my credentials: a graphic designer, local, creative, and loyal friend, like I was a product. People chuckled, some clapped. A few hands lifted, timid bids trickling in. My ears rang. I just wanted it to end. Then, clear and confident, Ethan's voice cut through the chatter. 100. Gasps broke around us. Nobody ever started that high. My stomach flipped. The host blinked, stunned. We have 100. Do we hear 120? No one dared. The crowd parted slightly, all eyes swinging toward him. Ethan didn't flinch, didn't smile. He simply lifted his hand, gaze steady on me, like this was inevitable. And just like that, I was his. Walking off that stage felt like drifting in a dream I couldn't wake from. The air was icy, snowflakes melting against my burning cheeks, my pulse erratic. Ethan was waiting, hands in his coat pockets, calm as if he hadn't just flipped my entire world upside down. Hey, he said simply, his voice low, familiar in a way that made me ache. I swallowed hard. Why did you do that? His lips curved, not quite a smile. Because I wanted to. That was it. No grand explanation. No mocking. Just a truth that felt heavier than the winter sky. The silence stretched, fragile and charged. The festival noise behind us blurred into laughter, music, and crackling fire pits. My mind screamed with every unspoken question. Did he know how I felt? Was this a game? Was this real? Before I could ask, he nodded toward the glowing line of booths. Walk with me. My feet obeyed before my brain did. The streets were dusted in white, lanterns swinging above us, casting golden halos. Ethan walked close enough that his shoulder occasionally brushed mine. Each touch like an electric spark I was desperate to hide. He carried himself with that same quiet confidence, but his silence wasn't cold. It was patient. You look like you'd rather be anywhere else, he said eventually. A bitter laugh escaped me. Sharp observation. I was practically dragged here. By your friends. Yeah. I shoved my hands deeper into my pockets. They think I need saving from my pathetic single life. Ethan glanced at me, something unreadable flickering in his eyes. And do you? I froze. His question wasn't teasing, it was sincere, edged with something raw. I wanted to deny it, but the truth was sitting too heavy in my chest. I don't know, I admitted. I thought I was fine. Until tonight. Until you. The words burned on my tongue, but I didn't say them. We passed a vendor selling cinnamon pretzels, the sweet scent wrapping around us. Ethan stopped, bought two without asking, and handed me one. My frozen fingers brushed his warm glove. I almost dropped the damn pretzel from how sharp the contact jolted me. He noticed. Of course he noticed. You're shaking, he said softly. Cold. Something like that. His gaze lingered a second too long, like he could see straight through me. Then, without hesitation, he unwound his scarf and draped it around my neck. His fingers brushed my skin, and I swore the world stilled. I wanted to joke it off, to lighten the moment, but my voice betrayed me. You didn't have to. I wanted to, he repeated. Same words as before. Each time, they sank deeper, like anchors pulling me somewhere dangerous and beautiful. We stopped at the edge of the square, where the crowd thinned and the music faded into background hum. A frozen lake stretched out before us, moonlight shimmering on its surface. Couples skated hand in hand, laughter ringing out. I stared, envy sharp in my chest. I wanted that. I wanted him. You're quiet, Ethan said, his tone gentler now. I turned, forcing a smile. Just wondering why someone like you would bid on someone like me. His brow furrowed. Someone like me? You know. I gestured vaguely. You're Ethan Hayes. Everyone knows you. You're successful, confident, ridiculously out of my league. A pause. Then he stepped closer, close enough that his breath mingled with mine in the cold. His voice dropped, each word deliberate. And you've spent all this time thinking I never noticed you. My heart stuttered. You did. His eyes softened, but there was an ache behind them. More than you'll ever believe. The truth in his tone hit me harder than the cold ever could. For the first time, I didn't feel like the boy overlooked in the hallway. I felt seen and terrified. I should have kissed him then. The moment begged for it. Icy lake, the glow of the lanterns, the weight of everything he just confessed. But fear clawed at my chest, the same fear that had ruled me for years. The belief that I wasn't enough, that one wrong move would shatter whatever fragile miracle this was. So I stepped back, and just like that, the air between us fractured. Ethan's expression flickered hurt, confusion, then something colder. I shouldn't have said anything, he murmured. The words stabbed deep. No, it's not. But he was already pulling away, his hands sliding back into his pockets, his gaze drifting toward the skating couples like he'd lost something he couldn't name. I wanted to scream that he hadn't lost me, that I'd been his long before tonight. But the fear held me silent. The next few days blurred together. Snowstorms swept through town, and I buried myself in work, pretending the world outside didn't matter. Except it did. Every time I glanced at the scarf still hanging by my door, my chest tightened. Couldn't wear it. I couldn't return it. It had become a symbol of everything I wanted and everything I'd run from. My friends noticed my distraction. You're sulking, Jenna accused one night as we sipped hot cocoa in her apartment. What happened after the festival? I lied. I told her it was nothing. But the truth kept me awake at night. The way Ethan had looked at me like I mattered, and the way I had broken that fragile trust by stepping back instead of forward. Regret is a cruel companion. By the time I saw him again, it was Christmas Eve. The town had gathered in the square once more, lights brighter than ever, carols drifting in the air. I hadn't planned to run into him. I'd considered avoiding the square altogether, but fate doesn't care about plans. He was there, of course, looking like he belonged to another world in his charcoal coat and steady composure. But this time, his eyes didn't search for me. They slid right past me as if I were no one. It hurt worse than I'd expected. I told myself to leave, to let him slip back into the life where he didn't need me. But when I saw him alone by the hot chocolate stand, something inside me snapped. I couldn't lose him without at least telling the truth. Ethan, I said, my voice too soft, too desperate. He turned, polite, guarded. Hey, I swallowed. About that night, don't, he interrupted. His tone wasn't cruel, but it was final. You don't owe me anything. I do, I blurted, my chest burning. I owe you everything. I was scared, Ethan. Not of you, but of what it meant. I've wanted you for so long that when you finally said you noticed me, I couldn't believe it. I thought if I let myself hope, I'd break. His expression wavered, the cracks showing through his composure. You think you're the only one who was afraid? The words stunned me. He stepped closer, his voice low, almost trembling. Do you have any idea how many times I wanted to reach for you and didn't? How many years I kept my distance because I thought you deserved someone braver than me? Silence wrapped around us, heavy, fragile. I stared at him, the truth unraveling everything I'd built to protect myself. He wasn't untouchable. He wasn't invincible. He was just a man who had been afraid too. And that changed everything. Snow fell thicker now, blanketing our shoulders, our hair. My hands shook as I reached for him, finally daring. My fingers brushed his, then held on tight. "I don't care if we're both scared," I whispered. "I just don't want to keep pretending anymore." For a long, aching second, he didn't move. Then Ethan exhaled, shaky and real, and pulled me into his arms. The world disappeared. The music, the laughter, the cold, it all fell away. All I felt was him, solid and warm, his heartbeat echoing against mine. His lips found mine, tentative at first, then deeper, like years of longing finally breaking free. When we pulled apart, his forehead rested against mine, his breath mixing with mine in the icy air. "You always were enough," he said, and for the first time I believed it. The weeks that followed were a blur of discovery. We learned the small things, how he took his coffee black, how I always forgot my gloves, how he hated being called perfect because it made him feel like no one could see the cracks. We argued, we laughed, we stumbled through the newness of us. But beneath it all was something solid, something that felt like home. One night, as we walked by the frozen lake where it had all begun, he took my hand and squeezed it. "You know," he said, his tone wry, "I never believed in those pairing festivals. Thought they were stupid." I laughed. "Still think so?" He looked at me, eyes warm, snowflakes catching in his dark lashes. "Not anymore." And then he kissed me again, slow and sure, as the world glowed around us. For once, I didn't feel like I was standing on the outside looking in. I was exactly where I belonged. With him. Forever. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with the latest videos.